Welcome back to iHeartRadio. So bad it's good. Today, I am so excited to have our next guest. She has been on a couple times now, and it's just one of those people over the last 2 years. I think it's been maybe 2.5. Who knows? I just like her so much as a person, not, even set aside from her content, which I know you guys know and love. So today is just such a really cool thing for me because I just get to catch up with who I consider like a friend in the stuff that we do here. And I'm just so excited to catch up on pop culture and all the craziness of the world, because unfortunately there is way too much craziness right now. You might know her as her surname, I guess, Talk of Shame. You might know her from her new YouTube channel that is just released. You might know her from her TikTok. You might know her from her reporting on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. You might know her as the newly verified Talk of Shame on Instagram. Kiki Monique, welcome to the show. By the way, I forgot to also say her podcast is called I Am Sorry. Is that correct?
Just I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Sorry, yeah. I was trying to be polite. I'm sorry. That's her podcast. She's off this week, so it's all right to listen to her here, and then you can go listen to her starting next week over on her podcast. But you can subscribe now and listen to all the past episodes. Kiki Monique, welcome back to the show.
Oh my God. You were my first, and I hope that, you'll be my forever. Yes.
Oh, first and last. I will never guest on a podcast ever again. Was I really your first podcast?
Yeah.
Oh my God. See, I always, because we actually got to meet in person at the Tom Sandoval concert, which is, if I had a nickel for every time I said, hey, I met somebody at the Tom Sandoval concert last night. We went to the Tom Sandoval concert in Venice a month or so ago, and I just got hammered. I was so drunk by the end of the night.
I drank so much tequila, but I also had so much fun. That was like one of the most fun nights I've had out in LA since I've been here.
No, it was, listen, Tom Sandoval puts on a great show. It is, the people watching is amazing. And I only mean the people on stage. Watching Tom Sandoval is just, the crowd is great. It's all songs that you know and sing along to. I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, I think that was the part I didn't expect, was like being able to sing along with the songs, because in my head I thought these are all going to be Tom Sandoval originals. I'm not going to know the words, but no, it's a cover band, so you know all the words.
This is called Jax. It's inspired by season 4. No, it was a great night. I want to start off with some positive news before we get into what you're doing lately. Is that I was on your page earlier, and it's hard. I wake up and I hit the Daily Mail like pretty much immediately. It's like how I go to sleep at night, how I wake up. And there's just a wave of bad stories lately. Just bad, just horrible. It just already gets me. And I know you're not supposed to look at your phone in the morning, but I do regardless. But I saw one that just made me happy. And I know you had already put it on your page when I went and checked, was that Rihanna becomes America's youngest self-made billionaire, dethrones Kim Kardashian, who previously held the spot. Now, this to me is what it's all about. Like Rihanna being a billionaire. Can you speak to why that's so amazing for everybody?
Well, first of all, because we just look at Rihanna like umbrella, right? Like that's what like sticks out. Like the first thing I think of just this summer anthem. She got us through the summer. She always talked to us about, men and the way we wanted to talk about men. She got through that horrible, patch with Chris Brown where we all were like, he's garbage. And now she's come on the other side and she's about to go public with her lingerie company and just do her own thing. Look, I did get a little bit, people came at me and they were like, she's Barbadian. And I just want to clarify that we didn't say she was an American billionaire. She just happens to be in America. And I think her company is based in America. So she's the youngest billionaire in America. So I think that's fair to say.
Listen, I think American pop culture claims Rihanna just as much as Barbados. I'm sure it's a different kind of respect and honor, and it's almost like a superhero. I'm sure if you go over there where she is from, it's got to be amazing for the little girls and kids out there to watch her ascension. But for me, what I love about this story just is, pop culture, you're right. We do know her from The Umbrella. We do know her from Auntie. We do know her from these amazing albums, which she refuses to ever release an album again, it seems like, because she doesn't need to, first off. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's enough for most people. To be one of the biggest pop stars in the world is usually enough. And I love to compare and contrast that with somebody like the Kardashians, where it's like, Did Kim have an umbrella? Did Kim have Kim had one pop song maybe that we all laugh about still to this day, but we kind of know her. I mean, you would say from the Ray J tape maybe, or from, the Kanye, now it's Skims and all of this stuff. But Rihanna, I love because it's like this person has a talent on top of what she has now created.
Yeah, she's what we think of when we think of self-made. With the Kim Kardashian, we know obviously her father was a lawyer and that she came from already a bit of wealth. And, with Ray J coming out, later talking about that sex tape maybe wasn't just an accident. Maybe that was the self-made portion of Kardashian. I'm just saying, we look at Rihanna as truly self-made, which just makes it so much more inspiring because billionaire feels so hard to reach, right? Like in our mind, we're like, well, maybe I'll be a millionaire one day, but billionaire, we're like, never. But we're like, no, like Rihanna was one of us at one point. So maybe maybe.
I mean, Kiki, thousandaire is hard for me to imagine at this point. Billionaire, my God. And the fact, that's what I love. I love that there are women out there that I'm like, fuck ASAP Rocky. Fuck that dude. He gets to be on the, I know he's a well-respected dude and now he's the father of their child, but I'm like, you better sign that prenup ASAP. I do not want you getting any of that Fenty money.
No, like she earned it every last dime. And what I also love is that she was also dating a billionaire at one point. I mean, remember she was dating like that Saudi prince, and like most of us would think like, oh, and she dumped him. And we were like, whoa. But she was like, because I know I'll make my own billions. I ain't worried about him. And
remember
so
the
cool.
paparazzi shots of them and the steamy shots, like of them like making out. Like that's the funny thing. I was talking about paparazzi shots the other day on the page, and I was just like, all these things, like I remember those paparazzi shots of her making out with that dude, and all the girls and guys online like, ooh, girl, get it. And I was thinking, like, at what point would we be just horrified if we were ever on a date and we went to kiss and then that wound up in a tabloid somewhere, and then somebody would have to judge on like if I was hot, if you were hot, if this, isn't that insane?
I can't imagine just leaving to go get gas in your car and you have to any of it just makes me just cringe at the thought.
Well, and that's interesting though, to tie into kind of where I feel like even though overnight success is created over decades, and I feel like, you are really in this really amazing spike right now in your career where it's got to be kind of really cool and really scary at the same time. And it's still not, you're not a billionaire or a millionaire or anything like that. But at the same time, and what you've chosen to do is speak to people about pop culture and things that matter and things going on in the world. You've had such a huge bounce in terms of just your social media profiles, new opportunities coming your way, people paying attention to you where maybe they didn't pay attention as much 5 years ago. What is that like for you to handle and then still be able to talk about pop culture things and deep things like, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial was a lot to make heads or tails of at times.
It was. I mean, honestly, I still feel like I'm just talking to my friends. Like, no matter how big I grow. I mean, so I found.
But your friends now are like Elon Musk. I'm talking to my friend Elon, Bill Gates. He called Billy,
I wish. But it's like, it is weird though, in those certain moments. Like the other day I went to Home Depot and I was waiting in my friend's car who he has like a open top Jeep, and I was just like on my phone and this bee would not leave me alone. It was attacking me and I kept.
The bee recognized you. Oh my God. The bee follows you on Instagram.
And I was like, I kept having to jump out of the Jeep and run around the Jeep. And in that moment, I normally wouldn't care. And in that moment there, when I saw other people in the parking lot, I'm like, what if one of these people actually does know me? And then they're just recording me.
I would have killed to get that shot. Success has taken another one. Yeah.
So it's just weird moments like that where I'm like, oh, I forget that people might recognize me. But I don't, otherwise I'm like, you want to just talk about pop culture? Let's do it.
That's what I think the true love that bonds everybody. It's just interesting. It's interesting to come up with people and I love that I get to say come up with people now, because that's how I always read other, SNL cast members coming up with each other. It's really cool to there's a handful of people that I'm like, oh my God, we were all around the same time. And it's cool to see what everybody's doing and everybody's getting it's really, really awesome and gratifying to see other people that you actually respect kind of not quote unquote making it, but being able to push it further and to open it up. Because I think with pop culture, especially, I keep screaming for people is it's all right to respect this stuff. It's all right to learn from this stuff. It's all right to let this have a little bit of a hold on your worldview, or maybe, even just aside from escapism, which I think delving into your Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff, would you have ever predicted you starting to talk about that trial would catch, an inferno like it did, not just with you, but with everybody kind of commenting on it? I point you out as one of the shining examples of something where I was like, okay, this doesn't seem exploitive. This doesn't seem, you actually presented information in this kind of like a really nice way. I don't mean nice in a bad way, but just, compared to other people of like, Amber Heard sticks something in her butt. Click this to find out what, but when you saw that taking off like it did, and the amount of people that just started following you because you were like, I mean, just what is that feeling like? And did it like give you pause on, I know you wanted to still talk about pop culture, but it did like, is this safe? Is this all right?
It did freak me out because I truly did not think that many people would be interested. Again, I was like, I did day one thinking like, hey, I'm interested in these, because I do love court cases, so let me just do it. And the interest was like, okay, wow, I have something here. So let's keep going with it. I did not think it was going to go where it did, but I'm happy it did, because I feel like I learned so much just about court, about legal stuff, but also just about us as like a society and like how we think we've grown, but really haven't, because we're definitely going to look back on this and say like, I can't believe we treated Amber that way. I don't care if you were not on her side at all. We're going to look at this and say that was crazy what happened to her.
I think sometimes people confuse, like everybody's got to be a shining, amazing person to be, to be innocent. And, like this person, Amber, obviously not obviously made tons of mistakes in that relationship and in her life, like we all do. I mean, like, it's very interesting though, but you're right. Like, we even had this, about a year and a half ago, remember, with the Britney Spears things of like, can you believe how we used to talk about this? Can you believe? And then we immediately pick up and do it again. And listen, like I said, I don't really think I like Amber Heard. I really don't think I like Johnny Depp. I hate to break it to you. Loved What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I think he's a great actor, but like, listen, I've got my own issues in my life. I just thought the fandom of this, and to intersect it then with Bravo, another thing we love, it's like so weird that like actual reality and reality shows are now the common thread is criminal justice in a way, and fandom. Yeah. Our Bravo fans are into Johnny Depp stuff.
And you know what, this trial, along with other things that sort of happened in the Bravo world, gave me more perspective. I used to be, when you met me, I was very much like a calling out Southern charm, calling out these problematic things. Like that was what I did.
Yeah, we did a Southern charm recap, I think like a year and a half ago or something. Yeah.
And what I've learned from all of this is that like, I don't jump on bandwagons anymore, because unless it's for like an account, right? Like if one of the accounts that we love and we feel friendly with, and something bad happens, because one of, the reality stars does something, and, a la Diana Jenkins,
we'll get there.
We will jump on those.
You want me to butthead you, Kiki? I butthead you.
Like now it's like, with, I'm sure we'll get here too, with, all this stuff happening on Beverly Hills and like, Garcelle and Erica. Normally I would be one of the first accounts that sort of jumps out, but I'm just sort of sitting back. I'm going to see how this plays out, because what I've learned is that these stars, while it's helping them and they're sort of playing into it so much, that I'm just going to like sit back and see what happens before I just put my foot in it.
See, that's, you're dead right. And I've actually noticed that change with your account. I think about even before the Johnny Depp thing, I think you kind of decided I'm going to present news in a very, not like even handed, like I can still tell your opinions, but it wasn't the hard jokes because I'll really go for a hard joke. I'll really go for something that makes me laugh in a stupid way. I'll still do that, even though I know, in the long run, it's not going to help me out when it comes to getting interviewed, there's a lot of, there's a lot of downfalls to that, even though but it makes me laugh still. And eventually, oh man, it'll be sad when I have to get away from that. But I always noticed that with yours, but I thought you really handled that with a lot of grace. But how do you not though? Like I still laugh. I mean, with that Rinna stuff, sometimes I want to lash out so hard, and I do. Like I lash out. I do not like pull punches usually. I still have that weird kind of fan in me, and I think maybe there's a little bit of maleness in there, like of just not even thinking about it and just like, you fucking piss me off, you know? And how do I become more like you? How do I hold that back? How do I be fair?
I don't think, I mean, look, I also am covering the January 6th, trials. And I will say,
Wait, is that a Bravo show? What is that? What's January 6th? Is that a
January
new thing?
6th series?
Yeah, is that a new,
but it's like, I feel like I am being very even-handed, but I'm also very clear that it's wrong. So it comes across very like I'm giving my opinion. So in certain things where I'm just like right or wrong, you're going to hear my perspective, but I'm also going to be very forward. But I don't know. I think that they've just kind of all worn off on me where I'm like, I don't really care that much about you unless you super, super really piss me off.
Oh man, that's what, like last night I had to do a Southern Charm recap and it had been after, the 4th of July. And I kept reading all the articles about what had went down in Illinois and then in Philadelphia. And it's just one of those things that it's hard to then laugh at Shep and Craig and Austin, and because I want to get like Austin's such a douchebag, Tristan Thompson's such a douchebag, and believe me, I did get there. Go listen to it; it's great. But it's really hard though with like that's what I'm saying. This weird melding and blending of our entertainment and our justice system and crime and all of this stuff. It's just weirdly blending, and I don't remember. I guess you could say like pop culture in a sense was like OJ and things like that, but I just don't remember it being this in our faces because of course we didn't have the social media we do have today.
Yeah. And we didn't have like, I think politicians that were also trying to be famous and having to do these sort of like reality star antics in order to get our attention. So now we have it coming at us from all angles and we don't even know what's real or fake anymore.
Well, that's what's sad is that because you see it working. You see the same tactics they use in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It's like, oh shit, am I going to see like a shitty Mitch McConnell at a gas station? I'm like, look how fat Mitch is getting. Like Erica Jane. Like, it's like that weird play. Like we should never be like, I don't want to know anything about their personal life. I just want to know that they're not taking money from foreign entities and lobbyists. And we know that's just not true.
Yeah, exactly. But that's just not the case.
In terms of pop culture, though, after you cover something like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which is like the, the pinnacle, I guess, of pop culture and crime and all this stuff, where do you go from there? When that trial was over, I mean, what do you do? Because, it went out, I guess, in favor of Johnny Depp and everybody was, this is a victory for men. Finally, men are getting their day. Amber will never be able to pay that $6 or $7 million. Amber's already doing interviews and she's going to write a book and she's going to do another trial or retry the case. And there's rumors out there he's getting $300 million for Pirates of Penzance or Pirates or whatever. Where do you go personally, and where do you think this next phase for that trial is headed? And did it kind of turn you off of pop culture and maybe a little bit more of like, I want to just go straight news?
I don't know if I want to go straight news. I think I still want to talk about things. I want to talk about cases because they're interesting. I do want to attach them to people we, necessarily don't need to be in the business of because that's more fun. So of course, Brad and Angelina, this like fight over the chateau. I mean, really interesting. So I'm going to break that down.
Can you explain to people? I never fully, I've mentioned the Brad because I've always been fascinated. Whatever happened on that private jet that so many years ago, when allegedly he got maybe physically abusive with one of the children, that started all of this, which now, how many years has it been later since that?
At least 6, right? Or is it more?
It feels like longer, I think.
Yeah.
But they had co-owned a winery, right? In France, is that it?
Yeah. And they bought this like huge chateau and essentially like Brad bought like most of it. He bought like 70%. And I think Angelina contributed about 30%. And they were going to build this together. This was going to be their family estate. And he put all this money into it. And then they brought on another local like person who knew the winery there and brought them on to like grow it. And at some point, Angelina just wanted to focus on her like charity, her foundation. And so she stopped putting money into it. But Brad, in good faith of knowing this was going to be like a family thing, she created an LLC. He sold for like $1 enough shares that she owned 50% of it because the agreement was, if anything happens, we have to give the first person first right of refusal to buy the other half, and nothing can happen without the other person's consent. and they agreed on that. But then this fight, alleged fight happened on the plane. Things went south. She has a restraining order on him. And then now she essentially sold the LLC that held only the interest in the chateau to a Russian investor. And this is the guy who,
well, it was like an oligarch, right? Or somebody like,
he's like owns Stoli, or he's like, controlling interest in Stoli vodka. And, he knows, he has maybe friends with Putin. It's like, he has this like really bad, connection. But now he owns half the chateau, which if we were thinking about a movie, imagine this movie where this like Russian oligarch owns half of your house and you're Brad Pitt, and you have to he can just come and go as he please. And so this guy sort of basically was trying to take over the chateau. And what's interesting in the papers is that Brad alleges that at one point, Angelina's like, I want to get rid of this restraining order. And he was like thinking it was out of a nice because she wanted to just like come to the estate and do some things. Well, he's saying what happened was she actually lifted it so she could show him the property, the Russian guy, and then sold it to him. And then now with the Ukraine-Russian war, this guy has really bad, he's not marketable. So the chateaus, their face value is going down. It's just a whole mess.
But it's supposedly really what I'd read from, number one news sources like Us Weekly is that Brad is in love with this winery. This is one of his pride and joys. So This is a personal affront to Brad Pitt. So we are now taking this to court. And this actually got wrapped up, if I'm not mistaken, then in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard things of finally, men are fighting back. Brad is fighting for this winery, which is amazing. But it's like we bought a zoo, but with a winery, and Angelina Jolie is now evil, and she's in bed with the Russians, supposedly.
And that's the thing. It's that's going to, because as I'm reading the case right now, I'm very much seeing Brad's side of it. Because yes, it was very much, and I'm like, oh God, am I going to have to be on this dude's side? But again, I'm going to report it.
And do you know, Kiki, I don't know if you've even noticed this. Do you notice how hot Brad Pitt is? Is it? When you take a good look next time you see an article with him, take a look at the picture. That guy is I'm a straight dude, and I can even go, that dude's extremely hot. That dude is, and Angelina Jolie extremely hot too.
Gorgeous.
I was thinking though, in terms of John Voight, Angelina Jolie's father. I'm now speaking French. Isn't it interesting, though, in a sense that if you guys know Hollywood history and stuff, is that Jon Voight and Angelina Jolie they weren't talking for a really long time. There was a big fight between Angelina Jolie's mother, who has passed away, and Jon Voight. And finally, they rekindled their relationship. And I think they started really healing things, supposedly right around the time she won the Oscar for Girl Interrupted. But isn't it crazy now that essentially this whole thing is replaying out again with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt? Brad Pitt almost in the Jon Voight role, and Angela, eventually I saw that little daughter of theirs in a dance class dancing her ass off, cute. And I was like, oh great, she's going to be an actor now, and Brad Pitt's going to be the Jon Voight when she's going to be winning the Oscar, and Brad's going to present the Oscar. They're gonna. Do you ever?
I didn't think about that. That's awful.
Yeah, but isn't that weirdly true? Isn't it weird that kind of thing might be playing out again in terms of just Hollywood stardom and then parental relationships?
It's so true. You're so right.
We got to do a TikTok on that, Kiki. We got to do a TikTok. I was thinking too about paparazzi shots recently, and how these things. I was thinking about that Brad and Angelina Jolie paparazzi shot on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Remember when they were do you remember by the trailers and they're all flirty and stuff, and everybody was always oh, they're into each other. He was still with Jennifer Aniston at the time, and then I had posted the picture, the paparazzi shot of Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. You guys took one last trip after they decided to split up. And there's this famous shot of them walking on the beach, and he has his arm around her, and he's wearing a shirt that says trash on it. And it was supposedly the weekend where he had said, we are no longer going to be a couple. And he got her to agree to it as well. And he said it was just, we were growing apart, but obviously it was because of Angelina Jolie, which then he made that official, I think 6 months later after that fact. I just always think isn't it weird now that we have this kind of history of pop culture told through these weird random photographs?
It is. And I just can't, it sucks. Your photo album of your love life being public display.
Yeah. This is when Ryan got dumped. Yeah. You can tell he's very sad. Yeah.
It's awful.
So no, it really is. But at the same time, there's this weird, there's this weird, but there's like a reverence we have for these things. Like sometimes I even treat this, and I know a lot of people listening to this, like we almost treat this spiritually. We almost treat like, I pray over the Solange elevator photo of after she had kicked Jay-Z's ass in that elevator, supposedly,
I think part of the reason, like, I even did the Johnny and Amber trial was because I knew it was going to be such a significant thing in our moment in our history. I wanted to remember every part of it because sometimes things happen, just like you explained, like in our pop culture history where I don't remember it exactly. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could remember that exact moment. And so now I'm much more conscious of like really noticing every detail. And now, oh my God, I've learned to, like, every time I drive past, Johnny and Amber's building in downtown, I'm just like, it's emblazoned in my head, like her, like chucking his phone into Skid Row.
By the way, so much elevator footage. Who knew the elevator? I want to make a short film just in that elevator with that camera. Like, it's like, Cara Delevingne popped up on there. James Franco popped up on there.
Elon Musk.
Your podcast, I'm sorry, which you can find on all podcasting outlets. What would you say the thesis? What would you say the idea behind that podcast is? Because I was looking at your topics and they range everything.
Yeah, I think we started in this place like everyone did of just like, so there were so many celebrity gaffes happen, right? And we're like, let's talk about it in like the most nuanced way of like, let's see their perspective and see their perspective. I think we've sort of come sort of like to this other side of what, quote unquote, cancel culture, where we're like a bit fatigued about it. And so now it's more like, I'm sorry, but we need to talk about this. It's like, there's things that I think we're scared to say, especially like a lot of like liberal voices, right? Like we have been holding back, I think, on saying things, and we've left it to like the more, I think, loudmouth, I would say, right. I would say the right, they are more vocal about their expression.
They have the best yellers. They have the best yellers. They're not as nearly as funny as the left wing, but they really are very loud,
They are. But I think there's stuff on the left-hand side that we've been sort of choking back, and we're like, we just have to say it. Like, and let's be respectful with it, but let's say it out loud. Let's stop trying to beat around a bush. And I think that's what we're trying to get at is like, I'm sorry, but we need to talk about this, like I love Britney, but I'm sorry, we need to talk about Britney. Like, what's happening?
Well, listen, I always come back to, if I could rename my podcast, I think it would be called Two Things Can Be True at Once, is that Britney is that like, listen, the conservatorship, I think definitely needed to be done away with. And, the way that it was even propagated and over 10 years, like it was completely ridiculous. But also I am going to be very honest and say, yeah, Britney has issues like a lot of Americans do with their mental health. Britney is on probably medication. And if you see those paparazzi photos of Britney, these are all examples of why Britney is the way she is today. And that doesn't mean she's a bad person. It doesn't mean that she's crazy. It means that a series of circumstances provided also with brain chemistry and the horrors that you have to watch with being followed every day of your life, not being able to trust family, people getting close to you, like not even having access to the kind of cell phones or cables that like we're able to watch more TV than Britney Spears. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
That's why she has abs and I don't, but I just think really sad like that. It's like, guys, yeah, of course she's not all right. Of course she's going to be writing long, rambling Instagram passages. That's part of freedom. Do you know how many normal people write fucking crazy Instagram things that I get scared of every day? And they're free. They're completely free.
Yeah. The difference is that I've had enough therapy and self-reflection that I rant into an empty email and save it in drafts. But like some people don't.
I do a daily podcast. I put the podcast out. I'll do you one better. I put it out. Yeah. Have you ever sent one of those draft emails accidentally? No, it's really hard to sometimes things slip.
The trick that I've learned is just put like an X in like the BCC field. So it'll never send as long as you have just like a random character in the BCC or CC field.
Oh my God. I've kept lists in my drafts of, oh, that's good to make a mental note of this person hurting me or this person. And then I'll go back and check after years and you'll be like, who was I even talking about? Like made me sad Tuesday, Okay.
So you have a burn book is what you're saying.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, definitely. Listen, and by the way, I'm not really into astrology that much, even though I'm a Taurus. And I will say the thing that I always go, okay, that's me, is that I do hold grudges. Like once I feel like I've been messed with, like I will it's hard for me to get past. And that to me, I hear is a trait that goes along with when I was born. Other than that, I want to believe everything. I'm free to be whoever I want. And the sun does not dictate anything, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a grudge holder. I just will like hold it like deep down, and 10 years later, out of nowhere, I might do something. Yes. You just won't know it's coming. But I'm like, I'm not obvious about it. Like if you piss me off right now, I'm not going to be tit for tat in that moment because I'm not, you know.
No, I'm the guy that explodes after you've done 10 billion things to me. And then I'm literally like each time like, please don't do that. And finally I explode and people are like, wow, where did that come? That's really hurtful. I'm like, what is going on? Your show does focus then on things kind of revolving around cancellation at times. Now, I'm of the opinion, and I think you might be too, is that cancellation doesn't really exist. I do think at this point, every one of us, anybody listening, we have all done something bad. I mean, varying degrees, obviously, but we've all done something bad, something that probably even taken out of context could get you potentially in trouble at work, could get you quote unquote canceled. Like I was saying, you could take quotes from this podcast where I'm doing other voices and other that and say, Ryan said this on this, here's the audio. And I could be canceled for that because there's no context. Coming out of the Johnny Depp trial, this is another thing. Like, in fact, it went the other way. I feel like this guy even got more celebrated than he obviously ever was, where it's like, you know, you really saw the fan base. I mean, to scary proportions.
Yeah, like the only person that like really got canceled was Amber, like, which is the ironic part, you know.
I mean, imagine even being talked about getting cut out of Aquaman 2. It's Aquaman 2. It's not The Godfather. People are treating this like it's like the Citizen Kane of superhero movies. Like there's going to be like a 30-second thing so everybody can boo at the screen, and then they're going to get her out of that movie, which is ridiculous. But Ezra Miller can walk around anyways. Sorry.
No, but yeah, exactly. Ezra Miller. And like, I do love the comparisons that are coming out. A lot of things like Ezra Miller is a whole nother level, like but they're talking about even Pete Davidson, right? And sort of like his behavior and MGK and his behavior and also just how they date. And it's like, if women were doing these things, they would be in conservatorships or they would be talked about really badly. But like Pete Davidson and MGK, I mean, literally MGK smashes a champagne glass into his forehead to celebrate, his new album. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, dude. Like he's real passionate.
Yeah,
he goes on Hulu talking about he has a shotgun in his mouth on the phone with Megan Fox. And we're like, he's hardcore. Like he's
that's punk rock, Kiki.
Mm-hmm.
That's punk rock. I always say MGK is like punk rock by kid bops, like it's family friendly punk rock that he wants to, listen, Machine Gun Kelly's fascinating because he started off in rap and then he eventually made his way towards what works, what works for him. Yeah. And listen, I just think whatever, he's having a moment and has for a couple of years. I will be really interested if you do pay attention to pop culture and study it. I'll be really curious where he is in 5 years. I'll be curious to see if he can transition and make that move to the next step. But a lot of people get trapped right here where he's at, where you can't get bigger than this moment. And the things like shoving the glass of champagne, like, listen, man, we had Angelina Jolie with the vial of Billy Bob Thornton's blood around his head. We've been through this thing, man. That's not punk rock. Like you're literally, listen, Addison Rae was at that party. Like, I mean, the D'Amelio girls were at that. Like how punk rock is that? Like Charlie D'Amelio is right behind you,
You know what I will say the best part about that documentary, one, I have a type. And if I had been living, in the same town as MGK, I absolutely would have.
Gotta go, Kiki. Have a great ride next year. I'm really happy for all your success.
But like, he's totally my type. But, the coolest part of that documentary was getting to hear from his daughter because, I think a lot of stars, especially stars that have like biracial children, keep them out of the spotlight because they do. So their fandom sometimes includes people that will treat them really terribly. But she spoke about her father in this documentary, and it was so awesome to hear from her because she was like one of the adults in the room. Like she was very much like my dad, but like she actually seemed really cool and down to earth and like not. And I loved seeing that.
I will say even from all the paparazzi shots, he does seem like a good father, or like, I will say that the girl seems very well adjusted and a very cool. I mean, like I do pay attention to all of those things.
Yeah.
And I always like the differentiation. Two things can be true at once. I can make fun of somebody's style and being punk and all this stuff, and they could still be possibly a good father. I mean,
oh yeah,
I do think the Megan Fox of it all is very funny too, as we see her slowly morphing into Kim Kardashian or vice versa. It's very weird. But that champagne glass moment at the party, I don't know if you saw the slow-mo reaction of her. She was like, oh, like horrified. It's never been more excited in her life. And I'm just like, oh my God, you guys, there's blood all over his $1,000 Gucci sweater. And she's just like, my God, this is no Brian Austin Green. No.
Yeah, I didn't see the slow-mo, but I saw the still shot and I was like, oh, Megan, what have you gotten yourself into? But also, do you love this? I don't know.
Yeah, it's blink if you need help. Like she's never, by the way, isn't it funny? This is why I find pop culture interesting. And that's why I started with Rihanna, because to me, Rihanna has laid a foundation of talent. Wherever Rihanna went from this point, like, wow, she went here and made $1 billion, but she already had this amazing talent. But things like, you could say Megan Fox was great. She, Jennifer's Body was great. I think we all remember where we were when we saw the Transformers. What an amazing moment for cinema. But you know what I'm saying? Like these things are almost like career builders. Like like Julia Fox, we're still watching her run around in silly clothes now. And people are like, Queen, slay. Where does Julia Fox, where does she go? Where is pop culture headed this way?
I don't know. I mean, I will say I'm surprised by Julia Fox's, her sustainability, I guess. Like I was surprised but that's just the impact of Kanye. Kanye touches you and you're golden. So like, say what you want about Kanye. Like, I guess I want to be in his orbit.
Well, speaking of that though, what if Kanye messaged you and said,
yes,
Kiki, doing Donda 3, it's probably never going to be released. But like, what if he all of a sudden just said, I want to take a vested interest in everything Kiki, and it kind of went like, are you able? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like when a black hole swallows you, that, and I love, like everybody thinks I always make fun. Like I have every one of Kanye's album. I've been to every tour he's done. But I can also be extremely frustrated with how social media, and it's like, when he's talking about the presidency and involving in politics, I really want separation of church and state and separation of politics and celebrity. Yeah. Those are the two things I want. But like, you would still work with Kanye at this moment if he came to you?
Absolutely. But I also know that it would have to be in a certain way, because I also know I could probably never adhere to the Kanye Bible if there is one, because like, he would be like, do this every day. And I'd be like, no, I'm going to watch Bravo.
I slept in. I'm so sorry.
Like I was going to go get some Popeyes. You want some wings? Like
you have to stop wearing the Old Navy jeans, Ryan. They're not flattering. Like, please. Like, I do wonder that though, sometimes, like, who is the most famous person at this point who have dropped into your DMs? Because you're at 115,000, you're verified, people are following you that you probably have followed forever. What's the weirdest or coolest encounter you've had so far since growing and doing what you do?
This one was pretty cool. Teddy Mellencamp left me a voice.
Gotta go. Oh, you're in the dark side.
She left me a voice memo because, I always talk about that Sleep Crown pillow that I like absolutely love. And I guess she wanted to get one for her sister and she didn't remember the name. And she was like, I'm sorry, can you just like remind me what the name was? And I was like, totally. Code Kiki. If you get it. Thank you.
Freddie Mellencamp used code Kiki.
I don't know if she did, but I hope she did. I hope she did, because I watched.
Any Kardashian interaction yet?
No, I have been too scared to even DM or tag them in really anything, because like Chris is like all powerful, and I will say like once you're in that orbit, that will suck you in. So I'm scared.
Well, I had talked with Amanda Hirsch, not skinny, not fat. She was on the show a long time ago. And sometimes I know she still follows me. Sometimes she'll like DM me or something. And she had a real switch in her account, from like, really kind of making hard jokes, I think, to, she's really in that Kardashian machine now. Like they really have kind of like they've crowned her in a way.
She was at the premiere party.
Oh, she does the after show for like really they said, and Chloe and Kim both did interviews for her podcast, which is like, holy crap. I mean, I just wonder, like, I'm screwed. Like if they ever even find my account, I'm toast. Like, I mean, I don't even mean like working with them. I mean, they'll kill me. Like, except even though I do stand up hard for Chloe with that Tristan shit. But like, do you ever, like, I do get scared sometimes about how would my interaction go with the Kardashian? Do you ever daydream about things like that?
Oh, I think about all the time. Like if I go to like Soho House or something, I'm scared that like maybe there'll be a famous person there who like I have said something terrible about.
How do you get in? See, you're even going to Soho House? How are you? Where's my invite, Kiki? I want to go to Soho House.
Let's go.
I've never been to Soho House.
Okay, let's go this week.
They take the photos and stuff.
Yes, let's go to Malibu House and then let's go to Nobu and let's buy me some sushi.
Oh, see, there we go. Okay, I'll DM Teddy. Hey, Teddy, going with your friend Kiki to would you do a GoFundMe with us to get a meal at Soho House?
Yes.
But daydream, it is interesting because are you still excited to do this, to do what you do? To like, I mean, I think sometimes with the heaviness of the Johnny Amber things, or when we kind of strike upon something that gets a little dark, and then kind of balancing that out with the world at large. How, do you still find yourself excited about the stupid stuff and Bravo and all of these things?
Oh my God. Like when we went to you invited me to the Tom Sandoval show. I was so excited because the VPR people and like you introduced me to Ariana.
I did Ariana and she was a fan. She was like, I there's just no way she's a fan of mine. I just I'm like, no, she just told me.
I love her. And so it was like, I absolutely get giddy. Like if someone follows me that like I am like a fan of, I want to repost it, but then I'm like, does that look too fangirl? I have whole moments of it of like,
I have I have so many things that I've just like, I've kept, like I've sat on, even whether it be gossip or whether it be, I'm like, I'm proud of myself, but nobody else. Like I've I'm like, I want to scream it from the rooftop sometimes. And then you actually do tell somebody and it's somebody that doesn't give a shit. Cause they're like, I don't care. So what? My kid pooped in the toilet for the first time today. Like, I don't have kids, man. This is exciting for me.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's really exciting.
Will you be covering the Jen Shah trial? I noticed you were in New York recently, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you were at the Ultimate Girls Trip Part 2 premiere, which I would love to know what that experience was like. But are you going to be covering the Jen Shah trial? I think it's coming up on July 17th. Is that the date?
Yeah. So part of the reason I kicked off the YouTube channel was because I want to find someone who will sponsor me to be in New York for 5 weeks. But yeah, I want to absolutely cover the Jen Shah trial. It's obviously a federal trial, so it's not going to be televised. So my plan was like, okay, go to New York for 5 weeks and just go to the courtroom every day. I don't know if it's feasible for me to be in New York for 5 weeks, but I definitely want to try to be there first week and last week, and then maybe work with some New York accounts who will be there every day. But I'm going to do my best to cover it. Unfortunately, it's happening at the same time as Johnny Depp's next assault trial, which I don't know if he'll try to settle it.
Will you talk to me about this? Because I'm not sure exactly. Somebody was like, oh, he's going back to court. I'm like, I don't even know if I know this one. What is the next Johnny Depp trial?
He allegedly.
By the way, you're not in a rush, right? We're all right.
No.
Okay.
He allegedly assaulted a crew member on the set of the movie. It was the Biggie Smalls movie, which I didn't see.
It barely came out, you guys, but he played a detective investigating the homicide of Notorious B.I.G.
So that case, it started years ago, but then it was like between this Amber thing happening, then the pandemic, and then obviously the UK trial and this trial, it's gotten like continued. So it finally now has a trial date set for like July 25th, I believe. There's 2 dates on the calendar. One's like July 19th, but I think July 25th is the actual start date. So if that starts, I want to be in LA because again, that won't be televised. So I want to go to the courthouse and see that. Now, if he was smart, honestly, he'd just settle it, right? Like I would just settle that at this point. It's been years. But he might also be like, I'm winning.
It's a sequel, baby. The TV show came back. Like, that's what I always say of like, man, this is the most attention Johnny. Like, remember, if we had never even heard about the Amber Heard stuff, Johnny Depp would still be dealing with the issues of overspending, on very expensive bottles of wine for his mega pints. Nothing to do with women here, you guys. This is nothing to do, but like he had a very big overspending problem. And I've read every celebrity profile on Johnny Depp for the last 25 years throughout my life. Like I remember when he bought Marlon Brando's island. I remember him with a Rolling Stone reporter rolling spliffs and drinking expensive rum and going, man, what a life. I remember comedians going on Stern telling him that, yeah, Johnny flew me and my girlfriend to London and put me up in this castle for 3 months. He footed the bill for the entire thing.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, and so I do get curious of like, regardless of women in Johnny Depp's life, Johnny Depp still had issues that have nothing to do with like, you know, just regular normal issues like we do, just times a billion because he was a uber millionaire. And I don't think anybody can argue, nor is it a assault on his character to say the dude really was a poor at budgeting.
Yeah. Good. Absolutely. And I think that's like, I mean, anyone who's made that much money over their career and still has to have a financial advisor say you're in trouble, like you just have been not paying attention to anything. So yeah, I feel like I have to be here for that case. So I definitely am going to cover Jen Shah. I want to cover both. So I'm going to see how we can juggle that because I want to make that happen for sure.
When you talk about, and by the way, how do we find your YouTube channel? Is it Talk of Shame? Is it Kiki Monique? How is it? What is it?
It will eventually be the Talk of Shame. Apparently YouTube makes you be online for 30 days before you can customize it. But I think if you just search the Talk of Shame, you can find it and eventually.
Guys, I'll put it on the show description as well. But do you have an angle going in on like, you know, what is, as you're learning to present information, to be a clear communicator and to get better at your job, do you go in with a plan of attack on Jen Shah? How much information do you know already going in? And is it the same with the Johnny Depp trial? Like, how do you remain fair, but also go like, okay, this is how I see it and how I might want to present it to my audience?
I think I will go in the same way I did with Johnny, which was no information at all. I'd rather start and listen to these opening statements and read, you know, as the trial goes on, just listening to like one side present their case, the other side present their case, and give it to the audience. Like when you hear these things as a juror, what would you believe? Because that's really the best way. If I read too much about it, I'm obviously going to form my own opinion, right? So I think it's better just to like, you know, go in blindly like a juror.
Have you had one example in pop culture so far that you went in with a really strong opinion and then you actually did see the facts and go, whoa, I totally got kind of fooled with reporting and with information and I didn't really look into it myself. Did that ever happen for you yet?
That's a really good question because I'm sure I have, but like, now I have to think about that one for a while.
I always think about that just in terms of, it's always after the fact, you know, whether it be the Britney Spears case or I was watching that, you know, Ronin, Woody Allen documentary on HBO in regards to that Woody Allen being accused of abusing the daughter. And, you know, I remember living through those times and really loving Woody Allen and his movies. Even as a kid, I was just like, oh, this is really funny. And then to see some of these details years later, to read some of the court documents, you're like, oh, wow, he really did such a good job suppressing this information from the public. Like they even go into it, like, you know, he had really good lawyers that was able to suppress information. And you realize what a weird game it is, even just in how we use the media and how we use pop culture now to present a certain message that might not even be true.
It's so true. And it's not until you are an adult and you are paying attention, you realize like how money can just like get you such good media that people don't even ever have to know the real you no matter what. And I just find that part super fascinating. Like all of these people that we think we know so much about, we actually have no idea who any of them are. And that's creepy to me.
Jen Shah, does she have any rock star attorneys like Johnny Depp? We made some celebrities out of those guys. Does Jen Shah have any rock stars on her defense team that might, because I always see that TikTok of the girl that got what's her name? The lawyer tattooed on her calf or something like that, or like her arm. And then the poor, you know, was like, okay, you really love Johnny Depp's lawyer. Like, that's amazing. You got a tattoo. I mean, do we have any stars over on Jen? Do you know these defense attorneys yet?
I've only seen the ones that we saw during the show, right? So I don't know. I mean, I think Jen's biggest problem is going to be Stu Chains, because he's already sort of pled out. And
Well,
so
yeah. Jen Shah's biggest problem is literally everybody else in the case that have all turned against her. Like, there's not one person that's been like, guys, she actually didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, I'm just fascinated as a public spectator to finally see, because Jen Shah keeps promising us, innocent until proven guilty, and you need to see the facts. And now I'm kind of like, I really do want to see like, I really now am very curious what the facts are, because wow, the Southern District of New York could have gotten it this wrong. Like, I'm so like, in my head is like, is she going to plead ignorance? Like, oh, I didn't know that was a crime. I didn't know that that was bad. Is she going to say, because, even I feel like Jen Shah is brilliant at sometimes deflecting things or getting us to talk about something else, like her sons being held at gunpoint when they did the raid on the house. Because we can all agree that was horrifying. We can all agree, like, holy shit, that's horrifying.
Mhm.
But it also then distracts from the actual, like, but Jen, why were they there? Like, why were, like, can you speak to that a little bit more?
I think the thing that is going to be interesting to me is that we know Utah is like the home of the pyramid scheme. Like, most businesses that like end up coming out as like either like a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme, they all, like MLMs, they all get their start like in Utah. And I actually think that most people who go to be entrepreneurs, they might actually think that those are proper ways to run businesses. And maybe maybe there is an ignorance there, because the companies that Jen worked for, the ones that are on her, LinkedIn profile, I think they've had their own issues, right? So she might have definitely seen like, well, that's how they made their millions. So I'm just going to take this model and work it for myself. What's wrong with that? And who knows? I don't know if you can.
I'm sorry, I couldn't afford fancy business school like well-off people. I had to pick myself up by my bootstraps and work. Like it'll be interesting to hear that, but that's like kind of the thing where I'm like, she has to go in that direction unless there's this clear-cut patsy or somebody else that she can throw at them. Which for me, I think she's everybody else's patsy. I'm really curious about how this handles. I was actually, I had been talking about for weeks, I was going to come down just for the first couple of days just to get man on the street interviews. Because listen, I can't report like you. I can't report like Emily, but I can do silly shit. I'll wear like a sandwich board. In fact, you can do the serious shit and I'll just stand outside and yell Baba Booey and stuff like that and ask people what they're wearing going into the courthouse.
Well, that's what I'm also, honestly, I will say, I want to know what Jen wears to trial every day. Like, that part alone is going to be fascinating. It's going to be like Anna Delvey 2.0. Like,
who are you wearing, Jen? Who are you wearing? You look amazing. Who are you wearing? I mean, do you think she'll blow it out? Knowing Jen, do you think this will be a show? Because if you potentially know you're going to prison, why not put on one last great show, right?
Well, I said from the beginning, I've always thought that Jen knew she was going down and chose to be on Bravo because you don't want to go to prison as a nobody. It's much better to go to prison as a somebody. So I actually think that Jen knew that the feds were onto her and said, I have to get onto this show because when they arrest me, everyone will know my name and it'll be a lot easier to maybe get off if I'm famous, or I'll at least be able to get a book out of it or something.
I mean, Teresa Giudice, we saw like one of my favorite photos is her in the middle of all her prison friends in prison. Do you remember that photo?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, she looked like she was the leader of her group. And I was like, Jen Shah could potentially be the leader of her group. I mean, if she really like leans into this thing, I was even thinking, why not have Bravo do like Real Housewives of inside this prison? And you just shoot all like, that glass mirror thing or visitation where they pick it up and that could be their talking head. And they'd be like, yes, yesterday I got like ham with some money somebody sent me, like you could do a whole series about inside those prison gates.
Absolutely. And like, we know that these prisons are tough, but it's not like, these are still white collar crimes. So they're going to, survive, and there'll probably be women on the inside again who watch Bravo and will be excited that their new cellmate or their new, bench buddy is a housewife. And yeah,
about Jen Shah's my celly. We need to make that shirt. Jen Shah's my celly. But wouldn't it be great if it's like Shawshank Redemption and like there's a Morgan Freeman character like get busy living, Jen, or get busy dying? And
wait,
she's
did
like,
you do that on purpose? Shawshank.
Jen Shah crawling out through the shit and then just like, yeah. And then Whitney's there to pick her up. Hi, Jen, I'm here to pick you up. Okay, so moving into Beverly Hills, which I believe you are watching, correct?
Yes.
Now, we were talking earlier just about social media in general, and that the Beverly Hills, I don't know if it capitalizes on this in a good way, but there's a show outside of the show that I feel like we're ripping this time continuum like a multiverse thing because we watched something on Wednesday night. And then already we get everybody responding to on social media. And then on the 4th, Bravo decides to release like what felt like 30 minutes of this week's episode, all horrific scenes. Like Kyle looks like a real shit. And I mean, just guys, where that scene ended with Diana Jenkins and Sutton, Sutton's like, I had 2 miscarriages. I did. And Kyle's like, no, you didn't. That doesn't make sense. And she's extra like raspy because she's wasted. And she's like grabbing that Sutton. And she's like, when did you tell me about 2 miscarriages? Kiki, as a female, do girls lead with their miscarriages in conversations with women friends?
I have never had that happen in my life.
Right?
But I've also never had a friend manhandle me.
Dude, Kyle was like, and by the way, have you seen Kyle's hands? Those are aggressive hands. Like, if you've seen it close, those pack a punch. And Diana's sitting there going like, he. It's so weird.
Sutton was getting shaken around like a rag doll, but they were all wasted. And so then it was just like, I'm trying to look at this from like through my drunken lens. And it's just like, all of you are hammered. And
totally. I mean, I saw that immediately that Kyle was wasted, but I'm like, still an asshole. Like, it's like, great. I've watched assholes be drunk, their assholes really come out when they're drunk, and Kyle just doesn't like Sutton.
Well, that's what's weird because like, I'm like, this is your really good friend, but yet you are telling her that she's never had miscarriages. You're shaking her around like a rag doll and you're sticking up for this woman that you just met. It was really odd behavior, but like there's also women who that is their normal friend relationship where they want to be the power person in their circle, and so they do it through like, I tell you what to say and do and don't act this way, and so maybe that's how she is with her friends. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Bravo. Like, I'm waiting for the Kyle. Like, prove those miscarriages, which I do. I really want to petition Bravo. Is like they need to have like a tax man where they do just collect receipts before the season. Like, give me everything. Give me your doctor's notices. Give me your traffic tickets. Give me everything. So when receipts are called for, because it seems like that's where all of this is headed in reality shows, is actually having receipts. Like, Diana, let's see your doctor. She's like, do you want to get a doctor's note? You know what? Yeah, I know it's weird, but I would like a doctor's note at this point. I don't trust anybody in this fucking show. Erica Jane is sitting there tanked on her 80th spicy margarita and then starts like catcalling at Garcelle's kids. I mean, attractive kids, but like, come here, kid, you want to fuck me? Like, and then the other younger, you see that scene where the younger kid comes in and she's like, get the fuck out of here. Get out. And like,
yeah.
Isn't that
and
weird?
then like we all saw how she reacted when her son, the cop, was brought up. I mean, like she was seething. She was foaming at the mouth.
You don't know what I go through today.
But yeah, I was just like, look, I mean, why are you cussing out? And I don't know. Why are you cussing out a 14-year-old kid? That's just weird. And like, just apologize. Don't like it was so weird. Everything was so weird, but I just also wanted to see the episode now.
Well, no, I mean, they really teased it, but I just find it so funny that Kyle is overseas, you guys, on this fancy vacation. And I just love that she wakes up to literally, I was like reading like the comments, you guys, because then on Sutton's overseas too. And Kyle goes, oh my God, I didn't know you were there. We could have met up. And then people just came for Kyle's comment in Sutton's post of like, you want to go after kids? You want to go? And then to Dorit too. They started calling Dorit's kids like all these weird names and stuff because in another unreleased scene from this upcoming episode was Dorit, Mauricio, Kyle, and PK laughing about like, oh, we love loose Erica when she tries to slut it up for 12-year-olds. We're so glad she's relaxed and makes other kids uncomfortable. Like they were championing this, which is just in poor taste, but this Bravo fans, it's insane.
Oh, Bravo fans love a fight. So like this was like they were going to be like pouncing for sure. And yeah, Kyle's using the excuse like there's a time zone difference, so I haven't had a chance to talk to Garcelle yet. And so and yes, like Sutton, I can't believe she's definitely cleaning it up. But and also that scene where they're laughing and Mauricio's like, I'm glad Erica did it. Like, didn't it to you feel like this was just their way of like, because Erica got so mad at them for laughing behind her back about Tom, that this was their way of being like, see, like we are your friends.
Part two of the, don't operate on the brain, get the ankle. Like it was part two of that, yet they were sticking. Mauricio goes, I love it. I love what's going on here. And it's just weird though, because, and I think about the Kardashians like this in the sense too of like, oh, wow, it's just like a bunch of rich people laughing at us. It's a bunch of rich people deciding the rules and saying, oh, good for Erica. She's been through the ringer, Hey, real quick question. Do you think Erica Jane has as much sex as she always tells us she does?
I hope so. But I doubt it.
I think it's such a bull. Like, let's see it. Let's just see one shadowy figure come into your house. Let's just see one night vision camera like Summer House. If
you were having that much sex, truthfully, we would have seen a TikTok about it because there's no way anyone would shut up about it. I'm sorry. Like we would hear about it. People would talk. They wouldn't be able to help themselves.
Do you think she would have hooked up with Garcelle's son if she was like, come, pat my puss, pat it?
I think she's just used to like young men and like flirting with them, but I don't think she actually would make any moves because I think she still just wants like an old rich guy. Like that's who the only person she's given it up for is like someone who could take care of her.
Oh, and by the way, that's who, like, to an old rich guy, she probably is a stallion in bed. She's like, I've never, like, this girl actually moved one of her hips. Like, oh my God, like I've never had it like this before. I always ask this of every guest too, is that in terms of pop culture and where we're headed with this, how do we determine what to trust and what is real anymore? It's a recurring theme, and we even talked about it a little bit earlier. I was reading this thing I wanted to read to you from Lisa Rinna's Instagram yesterday that I got sent a bunch. And Lisa Rinna's she wasn't even in this past week's episode, but she needed to get involved. She needed to say, I'm still here, you guys. And she said some horrific things. She instigated the Dubai cast, but then wanted the Dubai cast to thank her for the press. Really weird shit. And then yesterday, Kiki, she posts this meme. It's not even her meme. It says, grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. And her, which is like, then her caption underneath said, I've had a really rough time of it. I think you've seen how hard this has hit me. I'm sorry if I've raged on you about you. It really has nothing to do with any of you. I never thought I would feel this way. I really thought grief would be about sadness and pain, but it's so much more. I am really struggling. I just never thought it would feel like this, but here it is. Losing my mom has really hit me hard. Thank you for your patience with me. I know it's not easy to have warm fuzzies for me right now, but I'll get through this and hopefully come out the other side stronger and better. Thank you for your support and your love. I so appreciate it. Prayer hand emoji, heart emoji, 3 dove emojis. Could I get a reaction to you from that? Is this real? And how do we determine what is real anymore?
I just don't understand why, your mother passing away would be why you said sort of racist sounding things online. I don't know how those two correlate. It just sounds like you're looking for us to feel sorry for you.
Was your mom like a horrible racist? Like a tribute to her? Like my mom would have killed me if I didn't take that shot at the Dubai ladies. Yeah.
So I do. I trust nothing. I trust nothing.
I hate it.
I just think that everything is an act. Everything is fake. And I think the only way I don't know if there's a way to see through it, but the only thing I can do is react to it in the way I believe that I see it. And whether it's like, it's fun and entertaining, just like wrestling. I still love wrestling. I've known that's been fake for years, but I can enjoy it. And I think that's how I just treat the Housewives at this point. And so sometimes it's fun to get riled up when it's especially someone that you already don't like. And sometimes it's just fun to sit back and make fun of. And, and that's why I also don't look for any of these women for their perspectives anymore. Like if they're not sticking up for abortion rights, I don't know if I care, because ultimately, why am I looking to this woman who was a nobody a few years ago, and now she's a somebody to you know, I'll just be my own voice in that respect and use them for my entertainment is kind of how I see it.
It is so like pro wrestling. I always use that as an example of like, this is, you know, that you have your villains and your heroes, and each season that could actually change. One could turn into a villain, one could turn into a hero. The Rinna stuff though, I hate, it almost sometimes makes, I think, the viewer feel bad or me feel bad, because my first reaction was, oh, this isn't real. She, like, obviously she got scolded somewhere up and she's using this as an excuse. And I'm like, ooh, how gross that I even thought that. How gross that I would think somebody would use their mom's death to capitalize on something if they got in trouble. Like, how gross of me. Like, what is wrong with me that I thought that in a way? Like, I would hope that I would never use my mom to gain, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how weird is it?
Yeah, it's something you would never do. Yeah.
But I don't think, but maybe I would. That's what I'm saying. Like, who knows? But like, if it, you know, just knowing the Rinna that we know on TV, this almost seemed like a PR move more than also like, why are you sharing any of this with us? Like, why do you even have to give us a message of like, I don't give you the warm fuzzies anymore? Like, what, are you related to me?
Well, again, I think the oversharing in general is like the problem. While we want all the information, there's some information that's like I didn't need to know about Travis's pancreatitis, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a weird thing that I'm inside Travis's colon, basically. Like, that felt too personal.
Well, and that, I mean, speaking of the kids we talked about earlier of like these celebrity kids, you know, Alabama went live, his daughter, like, I'm like, please pray for my dad. I was literally like, how about we take away the phones while the dad's in the hospital? Like, you know, and you know, she probably gained a bunch of thousands of new followers and all this shit. And I'm like, dude, if I fucking get in there for some kind of shit disease in my colon, if one of my fucking family members goes live, I will literally lose my shit. Like, it will not be pretty for so many reasons. But I was like, this kid can't stay off social media. Like, this kid is looking to us to pray for her dad. And it's like, what about your close friends and family? Like, lean on mommy Courtney, you know?
Can you imagine? She's holding her dad's hand in a hospital bed while he has a hospital wristband on, and she takes
Dad, throw up the peace sign. Dad, throw up the peace sign. You know, even Travis was like, please, God, pray for me. I'm like, even Travis was like, give me my phone. No, I need my phone. Put it on story mode. Put it on story mode. Like, what is, you know, it's like, these are real. Like, I sat there and go, oh no, he is going to die, because I now think of everything like a reality show and go, oh my God, we got the next season of the Kardashians. Oh my God, dream wedding and then funeral. Like, that's where my head went thinking of storylines.
Yeah. And it will absolutely be. And if you don't think that we're going to see an ambulance rushing Travis to the hospital in season 2, you're out of your mind. We're going to see it. We're going to see it all. There's going to be a to be continued, and we're going to act like there's an actual buildup, even though we know the entire story already.
You have a couple drinks in Vegas this weekend. Would you hook up with Tristan Thompson? Go.
Wait, Chris? Oh, Tristan? Oh, Tristan no, Thompson. God, no, never. Absolutely
Even if
not.
he says, I swear to God, I'll wear a Jenny. I will
never,
wear a condom.
Ever. Never. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Never.
Nick Cannon?
Maybe.
Oh, wow. Nick Cannon, but not Tristan. Even after you've been with so many women that you've had babies with, you would still leave Nick up.
If he wore a condom. I mean, if he's not a condom guy, which it doesn't seem like he is, then no.
He's not a condom guy.
But the difference is with Nick is that he's not a cheater. He's always been a very I have open relationship. And look, I will absolutely take Mariah Carey sloppy seconds. Absolutely all day.
Just to get closer. As we start winding down here, I know you're watching Beverly Hills. What else are you messing around with right now in terms of watching for your own enjoyment?
I mean, I think it's more actually scripted TV, but
what are you watching?
I just finished The Lincoln Lawyer, and that was actually entertaining.
Oh, I just saw that on the top 10 Netflix. I was like, who's watching The Lincoln Lawyer? Turns out Kiki is watching. Was it Nev Campbell's in that, right?
Well, yeah, and I want us to do a series because they actually showed some they made Los Angeles look really cool, which I like now that I'm here. And a lot of the food spots, a native here told me that they were legit. So I want to eat my way through the Lincoln Lawyer places that they took places to eat. So watching that, Stranger Things, obviously I'm going to go finish that.
I had COVID last week and I I've always been like making fun of Stranger Things. I got through the first 2 seasons. I'm halfway through the third. And I was talking on the show today. I was just saying, like, I hate when something's so popular and I've held out and then you watch it and you're like, damn it, I like this. I like it's so good. Everybody was right. I love it so much.
It's so good.
All the nostalgia. Do you watch TLC? Do you watch any do you mess around with Love Island? Anything?
I want Bachelor in Paradise to come back because I don't watch Bachelor, but
that's
I do love Bachelor
September,
in Paradise.
I think Bachelor in Paradise is September. The new season of the Bachelorette comes out on the 11th, which I think
I don't watch those though. But F-Boy Island season 2 that comes out really soon. I do like that.
Is that Hulu or Netflix?
That's HBO.
That's F-Boy Island. Okay, yeah. What else do you watch? Anything?
I started trying to watch the new Shore stuff on MTV. Like they have
Buckhead Shore?
Buckhead Shore, and then they have the All-Star challenge of all the other Shore store, like Angie from New Jersey, and then Gordy Shore, and then all these different reality shows are competing for money. So that's a new show too.
What if we're talking about storylines? What would you say the storyline of Kiki's life is for this season? What do you see? I always love reading the descriptions of the Johnny Depp trial is over and Kiki remains unfazed. She's entering a new phase of her life and a new love around the corner. What would you say this new phase or season of your life is going to be revolving around?
Truthfully, I want it to be local girl makes good. Maybe you'll see me on my own show.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe you'll see
by the way, is that a hint? Did you?
No, but I'm putting hints out there. I'm manifesting.
Okay. I could easily see that. I mean, that's, by the way, I'd shoot higher than E. No offense, E. I'll take the slot if she refuses it. But I told you the first time you were on, I said, your face is the perfect face for it's packageable. And I don't mean that in a, it's you remember your face, you remember your hair, you remember these things on top of your content. I could completely see you on TV. In fact, I'm shocked that nobody has scooped you up. I mean, you know what? I've been wanting to pitch that the Bravo show of the week in Bravo social media to catch it. Because every Friday there should be a show by a couple correspondence that explains what the F went down on Instagram. So Bravo isn't running to catch up and people have to wait 7 months for a new season to find out what when we hopped on live to talk about that stupid Patrick Summers story with Kathy Hilton and that lady, it was just what is going on?
Yeah. Agreed. And we should do that. Let's do it.
We should do that. Okay, quick hits. Adele, what do we think? She just started her concerts in London. She has the new boyfriend, Rich Paul. Where are we on the Adele meter? She has not made up her show announcements in Vegas yet, but she is now touring overseas. What do we think of Adele?
I'm always cheering for Adele. I hope her relationship's going well. And I'm excited for whenever she rebooks.
Have you followed Ricky Martin? He had a restraining order put towards him this weekend. Not a lot of information has come out. This is not actually by his husband. So we are still finding out who this possibly is, a lover potentially or something. Have you heard anything? Do you have any opinions on the Ricky Martin story?
I haven't, and I want to know who this secret person is. And it makes me just want to watch that Menudo show on HBO, which I should go.
The Menudo documentary. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I want to see that too. VPR starts filming this week. Do you care any longer? I was talking on the show today that Brittany Jax's wife was on her podcast and still talking about this Stassi wedding. And I was like, these guys aren't even on the show. We're still why are we fix it, you guys? I don't know. This isn't on the show. What are you guys doing?
I'm so excited for VPR. I really am excited that Katie is single, that Lala is single. And I'm hoping that with all this Randall drama coming out, that she mentions it all.
That's where I wanted to end, was on the Randall LA Times article. You talked about this last week, but it really was, I couldn't fall asleep. And luckily, I was up at 7 a.m. when that dropped. And usually I'm not. Usually I'm asleep until 10. And I was like, holy shit, this is the real deal. This is not a puff piece. This is not they got, Amy Kinnaman, the author of that, did such an amazing job just getting all the sources. Did you listen to the voicemail?
Yes. Oh my gosh. The voice memos were, I am
hey, it's Randall again. I really need someone, man. I'm a good guy. You want 50,000 to produce this movie? Come on, man. Just pick up, man. Over and over again.
Mortified.
Like Tom Girardi.
Oh, I was so uncomfortable, but it was so amazing.
What is your overall view of that article and Randall's story with the information presented this past week?
Not surprised. Like, again, I think we knew a lot of this. We just didn't have hardcore evidence. And with all of these people talking, it's like, again, can a million people be wrong? You know, like from the assistants who say he basically turned him into a drug mule to the ones that like said she came over and he's laying naked on the couch, just covering his pee with a pillow. I mean, so many cringeworthy moments. And
the shaving of the back.
Oh God, on the carpet. It just really, what I will say is there were women who were absolutely, in my opinion, taken advantage of because he did have power. And it was that Martin Scorsese, link that made him have this power in Hollywood. So there were absolutely people that got taken advantage of because of that. There were also people who knew he was just such a dork. They took advantage of that and like were able to get paid off, and they knew they could just get a few $1,000 if they just kept, basically bribing him, right? And he would do it. So there was two camps of people, but ultimately he was always robbing Peter to pay Paul. And like when I look at these Bravo men, I don't think any of them are successful. They're all living hand to mouth at the end of the day. Like we like
yes,
it's just a different version of it.
Like how, and I think we've both made jokes in the past about like being poor or like, oh man, I'm just trying to make ends meet, like we joke about those things, about this kind of pseudo reality, but this dude acted like he was a billionaire doing PJs all the time. And the reality of these people, and not even just him, we see this in a lot of men, a lot of people, a lot of scammers and stuff, is that they really do just live, even the Tinder swindler documentary. They are just looking to get that next thing, to get these people paid off and stop bitching. And I wonder, like, for me, that would just destroy my nervous system to the point I think I would give myself some disease. But I almost think, and with some of these people, there must be some weird thrill that they truly feel like they're living when they're doing this. Why else keep doing it?
Yeah, I mean, because I do think it's probably an adrenaline rush, to like be like, oh man, we're like 25 million down. Where are we going to get this next funding? But also just the confidence that these men have, that they know that they'll find 25 million out of thin air. Like, can I just get like 2,500? Like, come on.
Well, and then, and just even the DMs that he would, allegedly send, like, send me a nude. I want to see you do heroin. I want to see you do meth. Send me a nude. Come on, do it. Like to the point, like an annoying pest, but, just kept going. And I'm just like, this is, and I told the audience last week, I said, but, weirdly enough, this is how people actually get movies made, being that kind of persistent gnat that just gets it done no matter what. And I'm not saying that as a compliment, but I'm saying that, like, how hard it is to make anything happen in this town or in entertainment. Yeah. It's amazing. Even when you make a shitty movie and I don't know. Like, so I'm curious. And I was talking to somebody involved in the Vanderpump Rules production. I said, it's going to be very interesting because Randall can't, now that it's in the LA Times, it can be talked about. The part of the article that I also found fascinating was him in bed with Ron Meyer, the president, or used to be president of Universal NBC. And he got the Fofty story cut out because we all screamed. We were like, where the fuck is the most entertaining thing that we had seen happen in social media and you just gloss over it on your show? Like, to see that those backroom deals are being made.
Fascinating. That was so fascinating. And like the part that also just resonated with me was, holy shit, am I going to have to like say that James Kennedy was right this whole time?
Two things can be true at once. He can be right, but he can also be really horribly wrong at so many other things. But I'm curious if this will be like how Lala will present this. Last time we saw, Randall was at the engagement ceremony of DJ James Kennedy or whatever that was. And he was a cast member, really. And now Lala is by herself with the child. I kind of thought like, oh my God, great. She got out at the right time. And I posted something of the sort, and I tried to give her a little compliment, and a lot of people really weren't having that. I go, she knew, BJ's for PJ. She knew, it was that thing of like, yo, man, like, listen, welcome to Hollywood. Like, hot girls are going to get taken by producers and stuff. And like, listen, I willful ignorance, she could have, the fact she did get out, I do think like kind of shows some sort of strength or something there that I think is worth, like, I'm not saying she's Mother Teresa, but I'm thinking like, wow, at least she's out and not standing by her man through all this shit.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what we do know about Hollywood is that, like, women are attracted to men who have hot women. So it's like Randall was with Amber Childress and hot actress.
Pretty, yeah.
And so if Randall starts hitting on you and, you know, maybe you're like, I kind of want a sugar daddy, you'll pick up on that because you think he has his shit together. He's rich. He's powerful, like whatever. Like, I don't think there's any reason to doubt that because, again, he has this track record of, he's made 120 million films and most of them are flops, but he also has a connection to Scorsese. He also now has an Oscar. So he does have this clout. So there's no reason to doubt it. I think it's going to be interesting because at the end of the day, Lala still does need him to make money so she can get child support, you know? So how much are you going to throw someone under the bus when you still need them to get work? You know,
I think all the way. I think she's going to throw this guy all the way. No, truly, I think this guy is a sinking ship, and she is completely off in one. And that's why I think you immediately saw Lala do as much SpawnCon on her Instagram immediately. All of a sudden, she took an even more vested interest in her podcast. You know, I really do think that it kind of maybe pushed her in a way that she hadn't been pushed in a long time. Because listen, if you're going to be taking care of everything, dude, I want to be taken care of. That sounds amazing. I mean, I get to go on cool vacations and wear cool clothes and just be with cool people. Like, I wouldn't want to hang out with Machine Gun Kelly, but that's, you know, her cross to bear. But it's just got to be weird. I'm just so excited to see how. I hope Vanderpump Rules, the production team, doesn't tank this. I hope it's 10 years. Let's go. Like, I want them to really try to dig in, you know?
I do. And I kind of wish Kristen would come back.
Why?
She would just bring this like chaotic energy that I think is somewhat missing with Vanderpump. Because what was so great about Vanderpump, like seasons 1 through 4 is just the pure chaos and it wasn't a fake chaos. Like, it was literally
the chaos
unhinged.
Of being young, hot, potentially on drugs and alcohol at all times. Like, I mean, it was like, we've all been or seen that or been a part, you know, it's like, we knew that life or we've seen that lifestyle. Yeah. It was so real.
Last Friday, just kidding.
Yes.
But like, I guess with Kristen, and I say this because of Kristen and not Stassi, I say because Stassi has like completely gone into her mom baby role, and Kristen is in a relationship, but Kristen was always in a relationship.
Kristen, no, they broke up.
Oh, really?
You didn't see the moving out, like crying.
No.
And I think like a couple of the VPR, like who was over there, but it was like they helped her move out. Oh. And, you know, and like, she's like had a lot of good memories in this place. And I was saying on the show to the people, I said, man, how many times have I seen Kristen move out of a place, out of a relationship? Like, it's like these people do become like, you confuse friends and reality stars where you're like, oh man, she can't find the right guy. Like,
then I definitely want her back.
How do you then marry that with like the Stassi and the Jax of it all? What if we just get everybody back in? Why would you argue that, or would you argue that Stassi and Jax should not come back?
Look, people are going to hate me for this. Jax was reality TV gold.
You need a villain.
Yep. And hate him or love him, I mean, every time Jax goes live, I watch every minute of it.
What does he say? What does he do?
How he hates LA.
Yeah.
How he just like hates this place and how he's going on to do bigger things. It's just Jax being Jax, and it is unhinged and ridiculous.
Do you know how long he's teased bigger and better thing? Like, you know how many years? Like, it feels like me out of like drama school where I'm like, you guys, any minute now, it is happening. It is on, you know?
I mean, the video of him returning the guitar to Tom in Ariana's house. I mean,
the samurai sword.
Oh yeah, the samurai sword.
Sword. Yes.
The samurai. I mean,
that dude, like, who does that in a like, he was one of the most gripping moments of the 9th season of Vanderpump Rules. He's not even on it. By a shaky security cam, you have like Jax being a fucking baby to like a signed Randy Jackson sword. Like, imagine how like you're returning. And by the way, when I went over to Tom's, he proudly showed me that, and I was like, this needs to be in the Smithsonian. This is like the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I get so into that lore of it, but you're right. Like, Jax is one of those reactionary dudes. I was on Sheena's podcast and Janet, Janet's like really good friends with Jax and Brittany. And she was telling this story that I was like, there's no way this is going to make this podcast. Cause she was like, oh my God, the funniest thing happened. Like, she hangs out with Brittany and Jax all the time. She's like, I was over there. We were like, the girls were over and I took my bra off. I was like uncomfortable. And I guess I left it there. And then like a couple days later, I get this call from Brittany and she's like, do you leave your bra over here? And like, didn't believe. Janet was like, oh yeah, I actually did. Oh my God. Like, I'm so sorry. And Brittany was like, good. I thought Jax did something. Like, could you, that's a reality show gold. Like literally a fucking bra gets taken off and you're like, Jax is like, that's the reality of their reality still. And that's not even for cameras. Like, she's like, good. He was in deep trouble. And I'm like, you're even at a place where there could be a random bra and you immediately think he's cheating. Like, what? Isn't that so? I heard this story and my eyes just got really wide and I was just like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And it made the show.
But see, because those antics happen and because there's enough people around them, that's why I don't necessarily think they have to be back on the show, because we will hear about it through other people on the show and it makes it that much more funnier. I prefer seeing the security camera footage of him sneaking in the middle of the night with the samurai sword, or them telling the story about him. I don't necessarily need him on, but
maybe he's just always in the bushes. He's always like, we just see like a shadowy, like in Stranger Things, like just a shadowy figure in the background. We know it's Jax.
But like, but he is funny. But like, I can reconcile the Kristen thing because I think Kristen's separate from Stassi. I can separate them, and I don't necessarily.
But Stassi, it's hard to separate, right? Is it hard to separate because she's profited off of it in a way?
Yeah, I just like I think that there's just something else there. I don't know, like there's just something, and so I don't necessarily need it. I don't, great. She has married and kids, and that also just doesn't fit into the storyline that I want for Vanderpump going forward. But Kristen, I absolutely could get into that for sure.
And I mean, we see DJ James Kennedy with his new girl, and we see Raquel single, and I'm really curious how that all works. Upset about Summer House casting, yay or nay?
I don't think so. I was, I'm fine without those dudes. I mean, I am going to miss Luke. I am going to miss Luke.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, I think there's okay for people that don't really, the people that are just filler. Like, I think that's okay. Yeah. Like wait till something happens. He's there. But until then, I always want to see that dude putting some logs on the fire. Like, I almost think that's like, hey, let's get out and have a beer and then start some conversation. Like, I know he's not trying to do anything, but for me, that is why these people are my weird, in my head friends. Kiki and Monique, I could talk to you forever. I never wanted this to end, and that's why I kept going. There's so many places to find Kiki. Of course, you follow her on The Talk of Shame on Instagram. I believe it's the same on TikTok as well. The big thing, though, is the YouTube channel. You got to go subscribe to that. She is going to be reporting in some fashion the Jen Shah trial, and also the second Johnny Depp trial. The sequel is never better than the original, though. But that will all be over there. And remember, like, I try to make people laugh and all that. And she does that too, but she also presents a lot of information, which I think is really important to really follow a lot of the facts of these things. And she presents that really well. So I always highly recommend that. And the podcast, of course, is called I'm Sorry. You have two co-hosts. What are their names?
Mohamed and Oha.
So guys, go support that podcast. It is out once a week. They're on a break this week, but they'll be back next week. Is there anything else coming up that we need to be aware of?
That's everything.
Well, this is always so amazing. Thank you for spending so much time. And hopefully I will talk to you hopefully I'll see you at the Jen Shah trial.
Yes, I hope so.
Or Soho House.
Yes.